Alright guys, it is Kieran from Red Devil Weekly and we're live a little bit earlier than usual to preview Manchester United's last game of 2020 as they prepare to take on Wolverhampton Wanderers at Old Trafford. Before we get into all of that, as usual, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here as well. And if you're watching as a video, thank you so much, really do appreciate it. Make sure you leave your thoughts and predictions in the comment section down below. And also follow me on Twitter at Red Devil Weekly if you haven't already. But we're going to get straight into it because there's no time to waste. No time to waste whatsoever. And we're going to start with the opposition, Wolves. And if you guys are watching live as well, just want to say, make sure you leave your thoughts in the live chat and we'll interact with them as we go through. But Wolves are a dangerous team. They've come into this game off the back of a 1-1 draw against Jose Mourinho's Spurs. A defeat which really Spurs inflicted on themselves by the way they played. But listen, I'm happy he's not a United anymore. You know, we don't have to endure that. It's good to be able just to watch that from the sidelines. But a 1-1 draw for Wolves, and actually, even without Raul Jimenez, who's been the big injury, the big crisis for Wolves is how they replace Raul Jimenez. Without Raul Jimenez, they haven't been scoring as many goals, but they look threatening. They still look quite threatening even without him. And Pedro Neto and Daniel Podence, two players that really make Wolves look threatening going forward. And they're going to be the two players that we're going to focus on really in this early part of the preview. Because I think those guys are going to be the ones that if we are going to have problems, I feel like they're going to cause them. You might notice I didn't mention Adama Traore, who obviously has got a very good record against the top six sides, especially against Man City, actually. His record against City is ridiculous. But for me, Adama Traore this season hasn't done anything. I think he hasn't got a goal and assist in his last 20-21 games, something stupid like that. So, I mean, it would just be typical if he was to come to Old Trafford and, score, as well as their striker as well. I can't remember his name, but if he was to score as well, it would just be typical. It really would be typical. But I'm not going to mention Adama Traore. I think it's going to be Podence and Neto, the two players that are going to cause us problems if we are going to have any problems. And I do believe we will. I think it's ridiculous to suggest that we're going to, sail through this game comfortably because Wolves are a very good side and we always seem to struggle against them. We always do. Welcome, Adam. Welcome, Red Manx TV. Thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate it. Red Manx TV asks, how was your Christmas? It was very good, mate. Thank you very much for asking. It was good. Hopefully you had a good Christmas as well. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully you're all doing perfect. I can see my face is already frozen, which is good. It's still frozen. So this is not going too well, to be honest. But I mean, as long as you can hear my audio, hopefully that's all right. But I might have to start the stream again if it is just going to be completely frozen like that. Because it looks like it's still frozen. Which is frustrating. Hopefully you can still hear me anyway. Make sure you check out Red Manx TV as well. Great stuff on there. Make sure you do check it out for all your United content, United fan content. Adam says team dropping points, but the thing is we never take advantage. We don't take advantage. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if we were to drop points again. Not never drop points again, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did drop points. Against Wolves, especially against a team who, like Wolves, love taking points off the top six sides. I know I'm still paused, which is a bit annoying. Raymond, thanks for joining, appreciate it. He says, hi mate, Merry Christmas to you. Let's end this year with a win. Yeah, hopefully mate. As I say, we've got a chance to end 2020 with a bang. We've got a chance to end 2020 with a really solid performance. Podcast now, to be honest. With my face. So, we'll try and get that back. I don't know how we're going to do it. I'm not sure if I'm just going to have to end the broadcast and start it back up again, but I don't know whether that's going to do anything or whether I'm going to have to reset the whole thing. I don't really want to do that, but it looks like it's just completely failed. So if that is the case, then I will have to just start this again, which is so annoying. The internet in my house is terrible. It's been up and down really this Christmas. Oh no, we're back. It looks like we're just about getting back. We're just about kind of lagging back, but you can probably hear my voice crackling. I'm not gonna. It's terrible. It's terrible. I don't know what's going on. I think my internet is just really poor, to be honest with you. You can kind of see my face move, but it's not really. Anyway, we'll try and continue the best we can and see what happens. Adam says, Kieran, we should start Cavani. I mean, I agree. I think Cavani, for me, when he came on in the game against Leicester, had a massive impact. A massive impact when he came on. And actually, for someone who's mid 30s, the impact that he's had, I think, is actually something which I didn't expect. I didn't expect it. I thought he was gonna pop up with a few important goals, similar to kind of what Ole Gunnar was doing, but actually he's had a very, very good start, really. You guys saying it's lagging a bit, but as long as you can hear it's fine. Cheers, appreciate you staying with me through the technical difficulties. Red Devil Studio G, thanks for joining, really appreciate it. Make sure you check out Red Devil Studio if you haven't already, great stuff on there. Good to hear that you can hear me. As long as you guys can hear me, it's good. Adam says, how do you become a United fan? It's a short story, really. My dad's a United fan, so just kind of went like that. I just kind of, was born into it. So that's why, obviously, I don't have the thick Manchester accent that you might expect. So that's the reason. That's nothing interesting really about that. Just a standard, reason. Jesus, Cavani starting is a good shout. Yeah, I think, obviously his role in the goal on not even going to guess what day it was. I think it was it Saturday? It was Saturday, wasn't it? The goal on Saturday against Leicester where he played it through to Bruno Fernandes. For me, that's the sort of role that we didn't expect him playing. We didn't expect Cavani to come in and play the playmaker role. We always expected, him to be the kind of guy who would just be in the box, be our fox in the box, as you'd say, and just kind of get on the end of crosses, and just not really be mobile, but he'd be someone who would be a threat in the box. But we didn't expect him to have, such good playmaking ability. And that's the second time that he set up Bruno Fernandes for a goal. He did it against Southampton as well. So he has that ability to make that final ball. But he also has the ability to score goals like he did against Everton, which, turn out to be so important over the course of a season. And I would start him in this game, especially with the way Wolves like to defend. I think Cavani's a perfect match. And also, if you look at the fact that, Anthony Martial isn't on the best of form right now, maybe it's a time to drop Martial, maybe put Cavani in there, who knows. TTX, thanks for joining. He said, let's go United, win the next game, we're second with 2 points off. Told me that at the start of the season I must think you would think I'd be smoking crack, something like that. Yeah, listen, TTX, I mean, we're all in the same boat on this one, really. I mean, if you told us, any United fan really, that we'd be, with a win tomorrow against Wolves, we'd be 2 points off, only 1 point off Liverpool, isn't it? Or 2 points. We'd be that close to the top of the table going into the new year, especially with the way we started. Jeez, I mean, I would have had to shake you. I would have to shake you. What are you on? What are you saying? But I mean, our away form has carried us somewhat, to be fair. But at the same time, you've got to look at some of those performances and say we've played well. We have played well. There's no doubt that we have dominated some games. Obviously, away from home, it's not ideal that we have to go behind to always get the points. But in the end of the day, if you get the points, it doesn't really matter. G says, I wouldn't risk Rashford or Lindelof due to injuries, so play a diamond with Matic, Fred, Pogba, Bruno, Cavani and Martial up top. I think that's not a bad plan. I don't think that's a bad plan. I don't think it's a bad plan. I think, obviously, I did hear the story that Rashford and Lindelof were both doubts through to injury, and we should have a depth of squad now so that we don't have to risk these players. We don't need to, do what we did last season with Rashford and carry on playing him when he clearly had a back injury. We don't need to do that now because we brought in Cavani and Van der Beek, and we've got defenders back. Bailly's back fit, Tuanzebe's available, and Rojo's even available as well. Some of you mates for the club, but he's available to play as well. So we have these backup in our squad. So I agree. I feel like we don't need to be risking these sort of players. We don't need to be doing that anymore. Adam says Leicester drop points in a 1-1 draw. Yep, I saw that. Palace did a little job for us, chasing those top 4 places. They could have held on for the win. That would have been nice. But obviously, beggars can't be choosers. Palace have been pretty awful since they played us, really. TTX's Wolves is though a game without Rashford is Hull. Well, yeah, Rashford does offer a little bit more as a winger. He has been quite bright recently, but obviously he was prone to missing chances. I'm not going to lie to you. He was prone to missing opportunities, especially against Leicester. Sorry, the two chances that he missed. Obviously, that's the difference between winning and drawing. And this is the thing. This is the cutthroat nature of the Premier League, is that you miss those chances against a team like Leicester, and they will punish you with players like Jamie Vardy. If we'd missed those chances in a game against like West Brom or I guess Fulham, we probably would have still got away with a 2-1 victory. But when you miss those chances in a game like Leicester, you're going to get punished. You're going to get you're going to get punished, and that's what happened. So we've got to be more careful. But I think Rashford does offer something in terms of his pace. I think Martial's definitely got pace as well, but I would say that Rashford does display his pace, especially running in behind, a lot more. Although if Martial just held his run a little bit, or if Rashford had played that ball a little bit earlier to Martial, we'd be sitting here very, very close to the top, indeed. So it's hard to see who should play over Martial and Rashford. That's a debate that will definitely be raging on, because both of them are form players. Both of them are players who need to have a lot of confidence to play well. And as to who I think is the better player just in general, it's very difficult to choose. Very, very difficult, because one week you say it's Rashford and then Martial outperforms him. And then you say Martial's the better player and then Rashford outperforms him. So it's some ways a good problem to have, but in other ways it can be frustrating when you start to think one of them is starting to gain confidence, and then all of a sudden they go on a bad run again. And if we are going to challenge for those top places, we need consistent strikers. We need consistent. We need to be consistent in the way we score and the way we go forward. And unfortunately, right now we're not as consistent as we'd like to be, because sometimes we can score against 6 goals against Leeds. I mean, we really should have scored 9 or 10 in that game. And in other days, like we had against Leicester, where we scored a few, but realistically we should have scored more, and we could have killed that game off a lot earlier than we did. So that's the difference really between kind of getting top 4 and putting in a title challenge, is in those games where you have the opportunity to finish the game off. You need to take it. You need to take it. Simple as that. But going on this Wolves game, we talked a little bit about what Wolves are going to offer going forward. Obviously, Pedro Neto are the two major dangers. Fabio Silva and Adama Traore, they're decent players, but they just haven't really, kicked on this season. They haven't really been, they haven't really offered too much of a threat going forward. Having said that, I guarantee you, as soon as, the football gods are now just writing a script saying we're going to lose 2-0 and both of them are going to score. I guarantee it. But this season, they haven't really shown me too much to worry me. Obviously, Adama Traore's got that pace, but Fabio Silva, whatever his name is, he just doesn't seem it for me. He doesn't seem it. But we'll obviously see. We'll obviously have a better idea of that, come after the game. Raymond says, Ole seems to prefer McTominay over Van der Beek lately. Is this a good thing? Good question, Raymond. Good question. I feel like in the long term, no, because I feel like Van der Beek is a better player in the long term. I think McTominay's not playing too badly right now, although against Leicester, you could argue he was majorly at fault for their first goal, at least, for not closing down. So for me, I think Van der Beek's the better quality player. I think he's the better person, and I feel like they play different roles. I'd say McTominay kind of forward thinking as Donny Van der Beek, and I feel like that has to be taken into consideration. But I think it's all about playing to the team that you're playing. Playing a system helps you beat the team that you're playing. I don't agree with managers like Marcelo Bielsa who go, this is how we play, we're going to stick to this and we're not going to alter it no matter how many holes it leaves tactically. And they did it against us and they got punished. And I would much rather a manager who changed his style of play a little bit when he's kind of, as Sean always liked to say from the Worldwide Red Show, styles make fights. And realistically, we can't just be playing Van der Beek every week or McTominay every week. You've got to change it because of, due to who you're playing. You've got to look at who you're playing and make a decision based off that. TTX says, Podence gives me Hazard vibes, I agree, and Neto looks good. Apart from that, Troy, no goals and assists in 21 Premier League games. Well, in some ways that worries me, TTX, because obviously Wolves turn up like prime Barcelona or 1970s Brazil, whatever you want, when they play us. And I feel like it'll be the same for Adama Traore. I am a bit worried about his pace running our defence. But as you said, he's just not been up to it this season so far. He hasn't been playing well at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is the game he chooses to step up. And as well as Fabio Silva hasn't scored, I don't think, for Wolves at all. Maybe scored once in the Europa League, but hasn't really scored in the league. So, oh no, he scored a penalty. He did score a penalty. I'm being unfair to him. He scored a penalty. But apart from that, he hasn't really caused too much problems for opposition defences. But I wouldn't be surprised if Adama Traore crosses it into Silva's head and they win 1-0. I would not be surprised in the slightest, because that's the sort of thing that happens to Manchester United. But Wolves aren't in great form. If you actually look at their overall form table, obviously they got the point against Spurs, and it was a decent point. They fully deserved the point, especially with the way Spurs approached the game. They fully deserved the point. But for me, Wolves' overall form hasn't been great, and especially without Raul Jimenez, they do struggle to create clear-cut chances, or at least score clear-cut chances. So that is something we've got to exploit. And as I've always said about Manchester United, the way we're playing right now under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if we take our chances, there is no team that is going to outscore us. There is no team. Because in most games we play, we create so many opportunities that if we took them all, we would win the league. Simple as that. And it's not being cocky. If you look at the amount of shots, the amount of attempts we have on goal in each match, it's a much improved state of affairs than what we'd had under Jose Mourinho, and Spurs fans are finding that out right now. So realistically, if we take our chances, we will win pretty well every game we play. It's simple as that. And obviously in the Leicester game, it was a tale of not taking our chances and making defensive errors. And that's something that's dragged us down as well. The fact that we have been making quite glaring defensive errors, especially from crosses. We keep conceding from crosses, and we've been talking about this for games and weeks and months. It feels like how we need to start addressing this. We need to start addressing our frailty from corners. We need to do it, and we haven't done it. As simple as that. I don't know what's going on in that training ground, but maybe Leopards don't change their spots. Maybe you can't coach them. You can't coach these defenders, and if that's the case, bring in some new defenders. It's simple as that. Brito Rashford, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it. He says, I'm done with Hendo. Obviously, Dean Henderson, after the game, did get a lot of stick. But some people were blaming David De Gea, so I wouldn't be surprised, especially with a game with a turnover of a few days. I wouldn't be surprised if Ollie does spring the old Dean Henderson card back on us. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to put him in my predicted 11, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if Dean Henderson got a game. I really, really wouldn't. But I think, it's too early in my opinion, to kind of, make a judgment on Dean Henderson. I still think, even though he's had a few dodgy performances for us, he's had some very good performances as well. So I think it's too early to say whether Henderson, whether Henderson is good enough or not good enough. We can't really make a proper judgment on Dean Henderson until he's played a really long stretch of games, and I don't think he's going to get that this season. I think the only way he gets that realistically is if De Gea leaves, and Solskjaer clearly favours David De Gea over Dean Henderson, but you can see that Ollie wants to give Henderson games. He wants to give him opportunities, and I think for goalkeepers it's very difficult to deal with having to come in once every 5 or 6 games, not having that consistent game time, because you need that form as a goalkeeper and you need that confidence. Sergio Romero did very well for us, and that's why I think he was underrated for us. The fact that even though he would go 7 or 8 games without playing, when he came back into the side, he was always very reliable. So having a keeper like that is absolute gold dust. Rich has joined us. Thanks for joining as well, Rich. I do apologise, Rich. I won't be able to join you on your stream. I've got some work to do tonight, so I do apologise for you, Rich. Or to you, Rich, I should say. But make sure you do check out Rich Sports if you haven't already. And make sure you're on that channel at 10 p.m. for the Premier League podcast. I'll try and tune in for a little bit if I can. But you guys, certainly, if you're available, make sure you do tune into that great stuff on Rich Sports. He says, I don't think heading practice is going on. Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like it. I don't know what it is. Our positional sense from crosses is is so poor, and I don't understand why it's so poor. You can understand, over the course of the season, making some mistakes and making, some positional errors. But the amount of positional errors our defenders are making on a week-by-week basis, it is worrying, especially when you look at how much we paid for these players. I don't want to bring up the price tag too much, but if you look at how much we did pay, it's a bit worrying that we're not getting the best out of these defenders, especially a certain Harry Maguire, who's obviously getting a lot of the blame. Even though for me, I don't think he was at fault too much for their second goal. For me, Brio Rashford says Aaron Wan-Bissaka injured or something. Why isn't he starting? I think he is injured. I think Wan-Bissaka did pick up a little knock. I think he is back in contention for the game, which is good. But I think he did pick up a little bit of a knock. He must have picked it up against Everton. I think he played against Everton, so he must have picked it up there. Sifo's joined us. Sifo, you've won a game and you're back. He says, Bottlers FC. Thanks for joining, Sifo. Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. Listen, obviously, I'm very, very happy to laugh at Spurs. That's the one thing we can do together, Sifo. That's the one thing that Man United and Arsenal fans can be united behind, is laughing at Jose Mourinho Spurs. But I mean, to be honest with you, mate, I rate it. I win. You're already back. You're already back running your mouth about other clubs, bantering other clubs. Oh, I love it, Sifo. I love it. But thanks for joining anyway. Appreciate it. Hopefully that's not referring to us. Hopefully, because if it is, then we're going to have words. We're going to have words, Sifo. But I'm going to get on to my kind of predicted 11. And you guys can let me know your predicted 11s in the live chat as well. And if you're watching as a video, leave your predicted 11s in the comment section down below. But if I had to predict 11, as I always say, as I said on Twitter as well, at Red Devil Weekly, cheeky plug, is that you can never predict a Solskjaer 11. I'm convinced you can never predict a Solskjaer 11. So it's going to be difficult, but I'm going to go with David De Gea in goal. I think if Wan-Bissaka is fit, he'll go back into right back. I think you will see Maguire and Eric Bailly as a centre-back partnership, kind of like we saw against Everton, but obviously it was a different formation. And then we'll see Alex Telles at left back. I think then we'll play the 4-2 diamond, I think. I think we will play... no, I'll tell you what, I'll just give you the names and then you later. So I think we'll play... We won't go too defensive against Wolves, I don't think, because they play quite defensive. So I think we will try and, go a little bit. I think we will play... We're playing Nemanja Matic because he hasn't played since the Everton game. So I think Matic will get a game. I think Van der Beek is going to get a game as well because Ole has hinted at making changes. So if Van der Beek doesn't get a game, I mean, what is going on there? And obviously Bruno Fernandes. So I think it's going to be Matic, Van der Beek, Fernandes. I think you'll see Rashford. And I think you'll see Edison Cavani play. And I think Greenwood as well. I think Mason Greenwood. So I'm going to go with a 4. Well, that's more of a 4-3-3. But obviously you can mould it into that any sort of formation you want in that sense. Let's see. A lot of people talking about what Sifo's been saying. Raymond says, what is your review of United's season so far? My review, I guess, out of 10 would probably be a 6 out of 10. I think over the course of the whole year, it's been up and down. No question. The fact we kind of... It's in the year where we, qualified for Champions League, but then we went out of the Champions League and we started really poorly. So for me, Raymond, I'd probably have to give it a 6 or 6.5 out of 10. But we knew, this season and last season was going to be a roller coaster, up and down, and it's proven to be that. And hopefully we can start just going up rather than going down. And a win against Wolves tomorrow would be a huge statement, in my opinion. TTX says Spurs are Spurs. Never consider these guys title challenges again. Bottle of mentality. Well, I thought when Jose Mourinho came in, he was going to kick that sort of thing out of them, but doesn't seem like it's worked. But yeah, I obviously it's not a Spurs channel and I don't watch Spurs week in, week out, but the sort of football that they played against Wolves, they played it, that result was always coming. That result was always coming in that game. If you watch that game, you could see that after they scored the goal in the first minute, it was classic Jose Mourinho, sit back, have Harry Kane, leave him up there and just lob balls to him, try and play on the counter-attack. And obviously, when you don't score, don't take your chances in between that point, between the first minute and the last minute, you're open to conceding because you keep inviting the opposition on. That's what happens. So I don't have any sympathy. I really don't have any sympathy. My score prediction for this game, I'm going to give you my score prediction, and we'll hear from you guys and what your score predictions are. But my score prediction, we're at home. Our home record isn't very good, and I think Wolves are actually not a bad team. They're a decent side, even without Raul Jimenez. I think they will create a lot of chances, but whether they have the finishing touch to actually put the ball in the back of the net, I don't know. But I do think they will score. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Manchester United. I feel like, Wolves are a decent side, but I think our attack, as the way they're playing at the moment, will just have too much for them. I think what we've got going forward, it's been working like a dream so far. So for me, I feel like we're going to have too much going forward. And Wolves have got a decent amount going forward, but I just don't think defensively they're going to have enough to hold us out. I could be wrong. And I am a bit worried about this game, I'm not going to lie, especially, going into it with, Wolves getting that point against Spurs, obviously having a bit of confidence from that. Pedro Neto, Daniel Podence, two very good players. So we've got to watch out. We really have to watch out for this Wolves team because they're a very good side. But without Raul Jimenez, I think it's going to be difficult for them to score more than once. I do think we're going to concede because we never seem to keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to go with 2-1. Let me know your thoughts. Sifo goes 3-1 Wolves. That's surprising. Brio Rashford goes with 2-1 to us. Great minds think alike, mate. Great minds think alike indeed. But we just need the win. I mean, a win obviously takes us, where does it take us? Takes us up to second place. Everton and Man City won't be playing this weekend. Their game is postponed, which could also mean that we get a free ticket to the final, which would be a bonus, a little Christmas bonus there. I doubt it's going to happen because I guarantee you with all the lawyers and all the power that Man City have, they'll get it changed, they'll get it rescheduled. The team I feel bad for is Leyton Orient. The fact that their game got cancelled and, I reckon Man City is definitely going to make sure that their game isn't cancelled, it's just rescheduled. So that is something that's going to have to be looked at. And who knows, maybe we get a free ticket to the final. I hope we do, but I doubt it. I feel Man City have just got too much, financial power. They're just too big of a club for that sort of thing to happen, which is unfortunate, but it's the way it goes. Raymond goes with 2-0. United, I like that from you. Sifo says, imagine if Maguire didn't fall asleep, you could have been within 3 points of Paul. Yeah, obviously, it's good to rub it in, mate. It's good to rub it in, but it's unfortunate. It's true. We've suffered this season so many times from defensive mistakes. Leipzig, look at that Leipzig game. Pretty well all three of their goals came from defensive errors or poor defensive judgment. We could have come away with a 2-0 win if we were flawless defensively in that game. Think about how impressive that would have been to go away to Leipzig, come away with a 2-0 win and a clean sheet. Mental, absolutely mental. But it shows that, defences are so important and defensive stability is even more important. Rich says Arsenal lost 2-1, but I think we've got enough to win the game 2-1. I agree. Great minds think alike as well. And Football Crew Show's joined us. Thanks for joining, mate. He says, I'm going for a 2-2 draw. Will be a tough game. No question. No question about that. It will be a very, very tough game, Football Crew Show. Another draw, I think the fact that it's at home would make it a little bit harder to take, and especially looking at the fact that, other teams have dropped points and not played. If we were to drop more points, it would just seem like the momentum is being taken out of this team, and we need to get that momentum back. Because actually against Leicester, we should have won that game, and really, the fact that we should have won that game should give us the confidence to continue playing the way we are and getting good results. It would have been even worse if we just played awfully in that Leicester game and come out with a point. But we actually played very, very well, and we just didn't take our chances. Simple as that. Rich says, who do people blame for the first Leicester goal? Good question. Make sure to leave your thoughts in the live chat about that. For me, I think Scott McTominay's got to take blame, and I think Bruno Fernandes has got to take some blame. You could potentially say that David De Gea shouldn't be beaten at his near post like that. Obviously, it wasn't right in the corner, but I think the two players that have got to take the most responsibility is Bruno Fernandes for trying a nutmeg on the edge of his box practically. Obviously if it works, you get your team on the counter-attack, but not there, man. He's got to be just booting that. I think Scott McTominay as well, if you look back at that goal, he's not closing down quick enough. He almost lets Harvey Barnes have a shot on his left foot, and Obviously, you look at the goal he scored today in their game against Crystal Palace. Again, they just basically let him have a shot on his left foot, put it in the back of the net. He's having a good season this season, and really, someone like Scott McTominay should have closed that down a lot quicker. So I probably blame those two, in my opinion. Sifo says, just watched a Rashford interview where he said your current team can challenge for every major trophy. Thoughts? I like his thinking. I like his thinking, but I probably would disagree. I think, our team's getting there. It's getting closer. And I think sometimes people underestimate what Bruno Fernandes has done to this team because, without Bruno Fernandes, we look very, very average. But I think with the way we're playing, if we just have consistency, there's no reason why we can't mount a little bit of a challenge. But I think with the defence that we have right now, there is no way we're winning anything substantial. We might win the Carabao Cup or an FA Cup, but we're not going to win anything substantial with that backline. That's just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. G says, Wolves don't score a lot of goals. That's true, especially without Raul Jimenez. And he also says, which I agree with, he says, we need to create chances and take them and we'll win. Simple as that. I agree, 100%. If we take our chances, there are very few teams in world football that will beat us because we create so many chances in games, or at least recently we've been creating so many chances that if we take them, it's a wrap, it's over. And that's what we need to do. We need to be cutthroat. We need to be clinical. If we're not, then we don't deserve to win. Rich says, Bruno messed up trying something he shouldn't be doing. I agree with that. And Raymond says, will Ole play Tuanzebe and Bailly together at the back now they're healthy again? Maguire always falls asleep. Well, my thoughts on this, Raymond, is that because Maguire is captain, I think he will stay in the team. I don't see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer removing Harry Maguire from the team anytime soon. Obviously, you might be groaning listening to this at home, but I just doubt it. I wouldn't get your hopes up on that front. But I feel like one of Tuanzebe and Bailly will get back into the team, especially with Lindelof having the back problem that seems to have been continuous. I feel like he had this back problem towards the end of last season as well, so it's been continuous, this problem with Lindelof. So I feel like Bailly will probably get back into the team, either one of Bailly or Tuanzebe, and to be honest with you, both of them would be an improvement on Lindelof at the moment, in my opinion. So we'll see what Ole does. But I think Eric Bailly and Maguire is going to start tomorrow as a partnership. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Tuanzebe though. As we know, Solskjaer is so difficult to read. Let's see. Ray says, Bruno jogging and McSaw static is on them for me. Yep, I totally agree. But listen, I'm going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. Comment down below your score predictions if you're watching as a video, and if you're watching in the live chat, thank you so much for watching it live. Make sure to check out all the channels that I've mentioned, Rich Sports, Red Devil Studio as well. Make sure to check out both those channels if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, and let's hope we end this year with a bang and we can go into 2021 with the momentum we need to, potentially mount some sort of challenge, potentially just have a good kind of start to mid of 2021. That was the worst ending. I should have just stopped talking. But anyway, we'll just end it there. Thanks for watching. You know what I mean. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you after the game. Cheers.